In the early hours of a spring morning, missiles streaked across the Persian Gulf. Oil tankers burned. Radar systems lit up across the region. And within minutes, military commanders in several countries were making decisions that could ignite a wider war. But here's the unsettling part. Those missiles didn't begin the conflict. They were the final echo of decisions made decades earlier, decisions made in boardrooms, palace halls, and revolutionary streets. 3 moments, 3 choices, and each one quietly killed a little more of the peace. This is Infinite Turning Points, where we explore the moments that quietly, or suddenly, changed the course of history. Today's story isn't about a single battle or a single leader. It's about how the relationship between Iran and the West unraveled across 3 decisive turning points, moments where cooperation collapsed, mistrust hardened, and conflict became increasingly likely. Because wars rarely begin suddenly. They accumulate, and in Iran's case, the road to confrontation can be traced through 3 moments where the future shifted. In 1951, Iran made a decision that shocked the world. Its democratically elected Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, nationalized the country's oil industry. At the time, British companies, particularly the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, controlled the majority of Iran's oil production. And the profits were staggering. But Iran itself received only a fraction of the revenue. To Mossadegh, nationalization wasn't radical, it was sovereignty. And inside Iran, the move was wildly popular. Now, you might think the Western response was purely about oil, but the Cold War context mattered. Washington feared that instability in Iran could open the door to Soviet influence. Iran bordered the Soviet Union, and in the strategic thinking of the early 1950s, that made it dangerous. So British intelligence and the Central Intelligence Agency launched a covert operation. Its goal wasn't negotiation, it was removal. In August 1953, a coup d'etat unfolded in Iran. Propaganda campaigns fueled unrest. Political allies were bribed. Street demonstrations escalated. Eventually, the Iranian military intervened. Mossadegh was arrested, and the Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, returned to power, backed strongly by the United States and Britain. From Washington's perspective, the operation was a success. Iran remained aligned with the West. Oil production resumed. But here's what most people don't realize. Inside Iran, the coup left a psychological scar. It taught millions of Iranians a simple lesson. Democracy could be overturned when it threatened foreign interests, and that memory would shape everything that followed. By the 1970s, Iran looked radically different. Tehran was often described as the Paris of the Middle East. Western fashion, nightclubs, expanding universities, rapid modernization. Under the Shah, Iran was becoming a regional power aligned closely with the United States. But beneath the surface, resentment was growing. The Shah ruled through a powerful security apparatus. Political dissent was suppressed. Economic inequality widened. And many Iranians felt their culture and political voice were being replaced by authoritarian modernization. Here's the thing about rapid change. If it moves faster than society can absorb, it produces backlash. By 1978, protests erupted across Iran. Religious leaders, students, workers, and intellectuals all joined the opposition. Among the most influential voices was Ruhollah Khomeini, an exiled cleric who denounced the Shah's rule. The protests escalated. Strikes paralyzed the economy. The military fractured. And in early 1979, the Shah fled the country. The monarchy collapsed. The Islamic Republic was born. This revolution didn't just change Iran internally. It shattered the geopolitical relationship between Iran and the United States. The rupture became undeniable during the Iran hostage crisis. Revolutionary students stormed the American embassy in Tehran and took dozens of hostages. For 444 days, the crisis dominated global headlines. To Americans, it symbolized humiliation. To many Iranians, it symbolized revenge for the 1953 coup. And this single moment had consequences no one could undo. Diplomatic relations collapsed, sanctions followed, and the two countries began viewing each other not as rivals, but as adversaries. Decades passed. Tensions never fully disappeared, but neither side escalated into direct war. Instead, the conflict evolved into something more complicated. Proxy wars, sanctions, cyber attacks, covert operations. But beneath all of it lay one central issue: nuclear capability. Iran insisted its program was peaceful. Western governments feared it could lead to nuclear weapons. Negotiations came and went. Agreements were signed and later abandoned. Trust eroded further. And then came the most recent turning point. In recent years, the Persian Gulf has become one of the most militarized waterways on Earth. It's also one of the most economically critical. Nearly a fifth of global oil shipments pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Any disruption there has global consequences. And tensions reached a new level during Operation Epic Fury, when strikes and counterstrikes across the region brought Iran and Western forces dangerously close to open war. Tankers were attacked. Missiles were intercepted. Naval forces mobilized. For the first time in years, the possibility of direct confrontation became real. Look at the timeline carefully. 1953 created mistrust. 1979 created hostility. The modern nuclear standoff created fear. Each moment built on the previous one. Here's the analogy. Imagine three cracks forming in a dam. Individually, they might be manageable, but together they weaken the entire structure. Eventually, pressure finds a way through. Now, you might think the current crisis is simply about nuclear weapons or regional power, but that explanation is incomplete. The deeper issue is accumulated distrust. Nations remember humiliation. They remember interference. They remember revolutions. And when those memories stack across generations, diplomacy becomes harder and escalation becomes easier. History doesn't move in straight lines. It moves through moments where decisions narrow the range of possible futures. The consequences extend far beyond Iran. Energy markets, military alliances, regional conflicts, global diplomacy. The Persian Gulf has become one of the most strategically sensitive regions in the world, and every crisis there carries global implications. But the current tensions didn't appear suddenly. They were built, piece by piece, through turning points where trust collapsed. The story of Iran's relationship with the West isn't a single conflict. It's a chain of decisions, a coup that rewrote political trust, a revolution that shattered alliances, and a modern confrontation shaped by decades of unresolved grievances. 3 moments, 3 shifts, each narrowing the path back to peace. And when you look closely, the present crisis doesn't feel sudden at all. It feels inevitable. If you want to understand how the world we live in was shaped, one decision at a time, subscribe to Infinite Turning Points.